When we were talking about the prayer hall, again, we had a smaller group breaking down into saying, should the prayer hall be divided longitudinally, horizontally? Should there be food served, not food served? All these questions we've been through, and we've been through genuine processes and made decisions. So all of those decisions have been made. Alhamdulillah, now we are at the stage really that the design is frozen effectively. In other words, you cannot now, well, you can at a cost, but essentially we are not meant to now change any of the positions of any of the parts of the community center. But what is happening now is the design of those different stages, interior design of these different parts is being worked upon. Anyone, if you happen to be an interior designer sitting here, please play a role. In fact, I was just about to say that every individual sitting here, I'm sure, has got some role or the other to play as this project progresses. And really, this project is massive. It is a project that is large, and I think every one of us here should feel proud about it and feel part of it and feel the ownership of this. I think I'll leave it at that if the video technical system is working. And then as Miqdad will present in the context of the Mehfil Ali regular programs that we've had for the last 25 years, how would they continue? Inshallah, after Rabi has talked, I'll just say a few more minutes as far as the fundraising is concerned. So.
Was Ali Mangara, he was just giving an overview of what the rationale was for a lot of the things that were done in terms of the architecture of the actual building and some of the internal rooms and how it works. If you would like to find out more about this or want to see the whole presentation in a bit more detail, sorry, the projection wasn't great, just come to talk to one of us and we can explain it to you. This part of the program right now is just 10 to 15 minutes. I'll just give you a brief overview of what we're thinking about in terms of the vision. In terms of what we think the Salaam Center will look like going forward. Okay, so a lot of you have come to presentations in the past, and we've talked quite abstractly about what the Salaam Center is all about. Today is not really a great day for technical work, but let's see what happens. While they're sorting that out, okay. We've talked quite extensively about the abstract idea of what the Salaam Center is about. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus quite a lot more on, in reality, what does it feel like? What will we see in 7 years' time once this is built? What is the Salaam Center going to actually give back to the community? What are the aims that we're trying to do here? And through this presentation, when it's come, we'll hopefully be able to get this. Let's start. Okay. So when you look at it, we just wanted to try and see where we are right now. This is where we are right now. And the aim is to try and build something which is beautiful and a place for us to worship Allah. Okay? So let's look at some of the images that they've created. This is actually what it's going to look like from the outside. This is the image that he was talking about earlier, about there being different zones, okay? So the idea of this William Morris zone, the idea of there being a digital zone, moving on from there to a sort of Iranian theme and then a sort of East African theme as well. All of these things brought together into one building. And we can talk about that at any stage later on. This is another angle of it. This is where the car park is. And I think this is my favorite image right now. This is genuinely fantastic. I mean, this is how we hope it would look when it's actually built. Okay. Now, the community here has developed a lot over the last 30 years. We started sort of in the early 70s, sort of late 70s, with the first Sunday school, and then BWF was formed in sort of 1980, and then going on, we started having question and answers, starting opening up more and more. Everything was in English by sort of the mid-90s, open to the wider public here. We started engaging more with the wider community, with the wider Muslim community, with Sunni groupings, and then the wider community, and we sort of attended Christmas Mass. So there's been a long development of the Maflali. But our aims have been the same. We've always had these 5 aims. And what are these aims that we've talked about? Like, what has Maflali or Sikkim stood for? Well, primarily we are a Shiite Nashri community, right? That's the first thing that we are. And we've always wanted to maintain and develop our Shi'i religious heritage. That's been the case from the beginning, through different Sunday schools, through Ramadan programs, Muharram programs, etc. But we've also been, one of the things we've always tried to do is generate ideas, be a place where we can have new thought, think about things, develop good ideas that can be used by others as well. And then at the same time, we always were much more open. We always hoped to be as open as we can, engage with others, and open to the wider community. We've done this from the very outset. We've had this open outlook, and it's sort of developed through time, as we've seen. And in addition, we want to make sure that we address the needs of the family and the community and provide opportunities for others. So these 5 ideas have been the core sort of aims of Maflali for a long time. And these are actually the exact same as what the Salaam Centre's aims are. The wording is slightly different, and I'm not sure why that's happened, but the wording is slightly different, but principally they're exactly the same. So pride in our heritage and embracing the future. The whole idea is we're proud of our religious and cultural heritage. We're proud of the fact that we are who we are as British Shia Nashri Muslims in this country, and we want to embrace the future going forward. We want to be the idea, be the center of creativity and ideas, be a place for the family and the community, want to provide opportunities for others, and always be inclusive and participatory. And these 5 ideas sort of summarize the vision of what we're trying to do in the Salaam Center. Now, we've talked a bit about these in the past, but these are all abstract ideas. It's very difficult sometimes to put your finger on, okay, so what does that mean for us? What does that mean for the Salaam Center going forward? And so what we're going to do in the next few slides is go through this in a bit more detail. And what does it mean for the Maflali community here? Now, in general, for the Maflali community here, the Salaam Center will mean we're going to have better facilities, we're going to be able to have larger capacity, and we're going to be able to attract more people to our functions. So it is clear how it's going to help the Maflali in terms of its organization, but also the fact is that any of Salaam Center's aims are the same as Maflali's aims, and therefore all of these things work together. So let's go try and see what is our vision of the Salaam Center 5 years from completion. So let's say in about 7 years' time. Okay, so we've talked about pride in our religious heritage. This is this idea of the mosque area. So we're going to be able to do all of the things that we're currently being able to do. This is a picture, sort of image of the prayer area. Ali Mangar talked a bit about it and the idea of the light coming forward, and instead of having a chandelier, as you see in other areas, instead of having the dome, this is another way of doing it in a way that he likes quite a lot. And his rationale is quite strong for this. The details of the colors we can obviously develop through time as well. Okay, but the idea is what we are proud of who we are, and we'll still be able to do that quite strongly and even better in the Salaam Center going forward. Here is another image of that. Okay. And in terms of our pride as Muslims in our religious heritage, well, we want to have a strong Sunday madrasa. You can see some of the images here we've got of learning through play in the party rooms, making sure that we have state-of-the-art classrooms with smart boards, a language lab, making sure this is a place which, with the ancillary sports facilities, which is really a perfect Sunday madrasa facility. And then at the same time, we want to be a center of religious development. Well, look at some of the sort of pictures here, but the ideas that we can do. This is what we can do. We're trying to make it real. What will the Salaam Center look like in 7 years' time? Okay, so we've got we're going to have obviously the religious occasions taking place. That's the core, that's the start. We'll also have the madrasa. Yes. We're going to be a center of religious development. This isn't a target to be the center of religious development, teaching all these different languages, teaching other topics like Islamic economics, with a range of different classes for a number of people, run by individual teachers and funded by individuals themselves. So everything we've already started thinking about how would this run? We'd have a center here for religious excellence and development. In addition, we want to sort of develop the thought process. How would we do that? How would we continue doing that? How would we do that in a better way than we currently are? Well, we've got lecture theatre now. We've got this idea of being able to have all these breakout rooms and these seminar rooms and a library, Islamic reference library. Here, we could, for example, have a range of religious conferences. Together with the media room that we have, we could broadcast these. We'd be able to have a radio channel from here or on YouTube. We could have these conferences. How would they work? Where would they come from? Well, there are lots of organizations such as the Center of Islamic Shia Studies, for example, CAS and KIS and Afkar, all of these different organizations, they need to have these religious conferences, and sometimes they don't find a location which is able to provide what they need. And this is something that we can do, and we can be the focus for this thought process and thought development. But creativity and innovation occur in different ways, from the religious side, but also from the other side. So we've got lecture theatre for plays, and we want to have a range of different plays there, from the passion plays of Imam Hussein alayhi salam to other plays from the local schools, or just making sure that people here have the opportunity from any community can come and say, look, we're going to hire this place. We're going to be having a play here in front of everybody else, and we're going to develop it at this center. And this is the whole point. We're providing this place, this space, to facilitate this creativity and innovation in the wider community. How would we do this? Well, we could partner up with a local school. We can partner up with sort of Noah Hill High School just around the corner. We could partner up with an organization called Mujuz, which does Muslim-Jewish cooperation. We will be able to be a facilitator for all of these creativity. And this is an example of what we can do. How else can we develop in creativity and innovation? Well, we've got a media room. And you can see on the right-hand side, Muhammad Latif laughing very much. This is the kind of thing that we can do. Making sure that there's a place where you can have teaching people how to present in a media environment, videoing them, making the next generation of thinking and development is going to be not just writing and blogging, but also video blogging, making films for students, short documentaries. This is the way forward, and we need to be at the forefront of this. And that's why this is where we're going to be. We could broadcast campaign videos. Whenever there are any of these ideas or petitions going around, we can be the place where they go and video it and start making it. We can be the push for the society to go forward in terms of sort of media development. Whether it's through training courses or just providing the facility so that it can happen. Our targets are here, they're clear, we know exactly how we'd be able to get there as well. How else can we develop the creativity and innovation? Well, we've got space for art. This is something, again, very lacking in our community. So what we're trying to do is make this a place which really can exhibit all of this. We saw on the outside of the building we could have some artwork. Some of the staircases we can have artwork. You can see some of the beauty of the building as well as some of the beauty of different paintings and portraits. How would we do this? Well, there are lots of other centers which have exhibitions during Hajj and Muharram and things like that. We can borrow from them. We can develop these ideas through other people, but the point is we are going to be a place where these things can be put, which sort of will encourage this going forward. But we want to make sure that this center is something which is for the family as well. So let's talk about how Salaam Center tangibly will be able to help the family and the community. Well, firstly, sports. It's a way that it breaks down barriers with badminton, football, basketball. We'd have accredited this is what we're going to be trying to do. Have accredited training courses, have football tournaments, have different types of tournaments there. We're going to have gender-specific gyms, okay? But all of these things we're starting to think about, how would this work? Who would fund it? how would the management happen? Okay, because we want to make sure that this is something that genuinely can happen. And we want to start thinking about some of these things going forward. Just imagine we've got a center here, which is going to have different tournaments, 6 tournaments a year, from different communities all coming together. A sports studio. What does sports studio mean? Tangibly, what it means is having yoga, having aerobics, having martial arts, table tennis, snooker, pool, tournaments during the year, hired out. Every single week we'll have all of these different things happening. Why? Because we've got a place within Harrow which does all of this stuff. Education. That's another way to bring people together. Adult education classes, skills-based learning courses, homework clubs, revision clubs. All of these things are things that can happen within the centre, and we expect to happen within the centre going forward. And it's also about catering for specific groups. For example, the very young. That's something that's not really dealt with as much. So we've got children's play area. We're going to be having a nursery for 50-odd people during the week time. And then fun for 50 other people during the weekend. Outdoor specialist areas just for kids playing outside. And how would we do this? How would we run this? Well, we'd sublet it to a nursery during the week. We'd sublet it to somebody else during the weekend for the specialist areas. Can you see some of the images, just an idea of what we're going to be able to show and actually have there? You can see some of the indoor children's play areas that we're hoping to have, and this is and on the outside, in the outer areas, that's some of the ideas that we can have outside as well. And then food, a restaurant. Having a restaurant, trying to be the best in Harrow, having 100+ people passing through every day, whether that's the cost on the inside or making sure the actual restaurant, which might be sublet to, I don't know, Kadiri's or Behesht or another restaurant. The idea, though, you can see the image, one of the images that Ali Mangara showed before, is to have a genuinely top-of-the-range restaurant in the area. So just all of these things, try and imagine all of this within one center. All of these different things that we're able to do. We also want to have a place to relax. Place of serenity. Where you're able to sort of relax, watch and admire Allah's creation. We've got these gardens of contemplation and reality reflection we've talked about. Whether it's older or younger people might just want to come and sit and relax. And we've got a growing older population, so we need to worry about that. But then it's not just about the older generation, it's about the younger generation too, obviously. So we want to have, what do we want in 5 years' time? A fully fledged youth club. What do I mean by youth club? I mean something where there's a games room, where you can have virtual golf and virtual bowling, having the games consoles, and making kids are able to come and with their martial arts, or go and play snooker or other sports, and just a general youth club which is able to cater for, 50 individuals from disadvantaged communities. This is how we're giving back to the society. How would we run this? Well, again, there are independent youth clubs who are around. They're the people who can run these things, and all we have to do is provide the facility for them to do this. The environment, I'm not going to spend much time on that. Rabi will be able to talk about it far better than I can. But we want to be an environmental model for other centers. We already had one Sunday madrasa. They've put us as a role model center of how environmental sustainability should work. We want to continue that. We want schools to come and say, look, this is a center where environmental sustainability is the way forward. That's what we want from the center. But we want to make sure that when we do all of these things, we do it in a way that's sustainable. Not only from an environmental perspective, but also from a financial perspective. And so when we have something which is open to everybody, the aim is that we start generating revenue. And we've got so many different things here, whether it's the beauty salon, which I haven't talked about so far, the restaurant, the children's play area, the second hall, which can be used for corporate conferences, wedding receptions, the gyms, the canteen. All of these are revenue generating to pay for the running of the center. But the whole point is if it's open to all. And when the whole principle of all of this is that we want something that is really open to everybody. But how can if we're building something which is open to everyone, okay, that's for financial reasons, but it's also because of the genuine vision of what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to just build something just for the Maflal Ali community. Maflal Ali community will be able to develop and be stronger because of the Salaam Center, of course. It's about facilitating a much wider group of people to be able to get together and develop going forward. And so how are we going to engage this? Well, through this natural process. If you've got people going to the local gym upstairs, and you have Muslims going to the prayer area, they will see each other, they will engage with each other. Already there's going to be probably a large number of Muslims who will be coming to the center. And so any other individuals who will come, for whatever reason, will naturally integrate with each other and talk to each other. So that's a start. And we'll have a vision of trying to have a percentage, maybe 50% of all gym members to be people who, to be non-Muslims, for example. And we're going to start developing these targets going forward. We're going to have weekly interfaith activities. We'll have partnership and make sure that this center partners with all different groups around Harrow. And we're the place where they will have their meetings. We will be the place where, because we'll provide it for them. We'll make it something which is attractive for them to come to. And what we will try and do is be the model for how can you create a model for integrating communities together. The target is that we are that model. We are the role model for other communities going forward. And by doing all of these things together, this is going to start breaking down and combating the negative stereotypes about Muslims. A lot of people, I don't know if you know, when we had this public consultation earlier on, some people came and said, you're not going to make this open. Well, this is exactly the point. We will say, look, people said this, we're showing it can be done. Some people from the Muslim community may have said in the past, oh, but there's so many problems with doing something which is open. Well, what we're going to try and do is show, look, we've done it, there were problems, but we were able to overcome them. This is the way forward. And that's the idea is that we will, by creating something like this, through all these different activities, tangible things that we'll be doing, we'll be creating something which really can benefit the wider community as well as ourselves. So the Salaam Center will create a stronger Maflal Ali and the potential of the entire society. So obviously Maflal Ali and the Sikkim community will develop because the aims overlap entirely. And all of the Sikkim councillors, affiliators and supporters will benefit from better facilities. But the wider community will also benefit from all of these different things. And we'll be able to learn about each other and from each other through stronger integration and just a creation of a more cohesive, a civil society which is together. So that's the idea of what we're trying to do with the Salaam Center. It's a lot. We've talked about it a lot in the past. Hopefully this has given you a bit more tangible idea of what we will have in 5 to 7 years' time. Okay? Now, if you have any questions, we can have a discussion later on. But what we'll have right now is Rabi, if he can come forward, and he'll talk about the sustainability of the Salaam Center and the ideas behind it. Salawat.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I don't know how much Dr. Nizar explained the first time I got involved in this project. It was, I think it was God's will. I came here competing against my previous company, was 2006, was it? And it turned out to be after watching the Ziyarat Warith, I didn't realize that this is a Shia place. And I live in Richmond myself, so it was really weird. So it was meant to be for me to be part of this project. I discussed with Dr. Nizar before that I wanted to start to deliver some lectures to the community about sustainability, and I thought this is beginning of hopefully series of lectures if we can do that. I didn't want to start to talk directly about what we are doing in the center. I thought that it's good to explain some definitions of what we call it sustainability. Everyone is talking about it. Being part of the community that most of us, we are followers of Imam Ali here, we have a lot of understanding to deeper meanings of things. And I thought we have to start learning from day one, when we achieve any center like that, where we're coming from and how we understand it and how we get engaged. The capability that we have throughout 1400 years is probably beyond any community if you think about it deeply. We suffered, we studied, we traveled, we maintained things, we kept things even to whatever extent it took us. A lot of us, we were part of, I mean, even other Muslims, I'm not just saying particular us as Itna Ashariya, but we were part of probably that makeup to happen, hopefully in the long term. One of the things that I felt about the issue of moving forward in any community, especially in the third world, was we always looked at some things being done before and we tried to mimic. And we had that problem most of the time when we're doing, let's say, master plans. We design master plans, we design buildings, and we felt when we move outside Europe, let's say, or the Western world, people trying to just to mimic and trying to follow it up. By the time that project is finished, other communities we are mimicking, they moved on. They are in a totally different place. We lost that leadership thing. And I think it's very important to make a quantum leap and think what would be the future of the city we are talking about rather than what it is now. So I thought to divide this into like a 3 series. One of it is to talk about sustainability in general, to define it, to understand the basics behind it. And next, talking about the way we are thinking about it. And the last thing will be how we are applying it to the center. Inshallah, in just 3-4 weeks as well, we finish the stage that Dr. Nizar is talking about, so we can even discuss something further. Sustainability, what is it? There are a few definitions that's been made for the last maybe 100, 200 years. I'm not going to talk too much about it. Thomas Jefferson once said that what it is basically no generation that can contract debts greater than may be paid during the course of its own existence, which is nicely put. But is it the full definition? I don't think so. There is more into it. Another definition by Theodore Roosevelt here as well, which is our duty to the whole, including the unborn generations, bids us to restrain an unprincipled present-day minority from wasting the heritage of these unborn generations. Again, thinking about the later on, this is the same thing. This community generation wants to build up the future for their own as well in here and trying to do it in the best possible way. But again, is that the final really definition? Is that the full definition of it? I don't think so again. Recently, there is in Seattle another nice definition. Sustainability is a new way of thinking about an age-old concern, ensuring that our children and grandchildren inherit a tomorrow that is at least as good as today's, preferably better. Very much similar, and that continues on. And I'm not going to keep up with all the definitions because I think we have definitions ourselves, and hopefully by the end I will explain it a bit more. When we say sustainability, and people heard it about sustainability and green in a different way, that they come all together. But most of the time when you say sustainability, unfortunately, I'm an engineer, so when you say I'm a sustainable consulting engineer, people understand that I am a solar energy guy, or I'm a geothermal guy, or I'm someone who is having a green roof. This is a very small part of it, because this is the essence of the thinking is the most important. And I remember 2000, we were talking about green buildings, and one guy stood up and seriously believed that green building is a building painted in green. And this is how he thought about it. And this is 12 years ago, and things moved on. What is the overall methodology in the present day? Basically, people, when you say sustainability, they talk about waste, they talk about water, how to deal with it, they talk about how the energy is dealt with it, from efficiency, how to make buildings very efficient, how to cut down on the heating, how to improve your lighting, how to put, again, renewable energy on top, especially now they are talking a lot about solar energy and wind energy in these days. And how you create a sustainable building in general, but this is a very, very tiny part of it. I'm going to move on because I promised Dr. Nizar I will cut down as much as I can. I had 150 slides, I cut it down to 80 something, but I'll move as fast as I can. There is one thing which people start to understand, that, which is really interesting. I relate this to halal and haram. And when you say I want to eat halal food, or I want to eat, this is halal money, is looking at everything that we do and tracing it back to any action that was taken to make this money, this food, this land, whatever, as halal as possible. And at this time and age, when we are talking sustainability, the biggest, the most quantified, and the most, or I would say, certified way of doing it is something called life cycle analysis. If I, let's say when we talk about solar energy, we are putting photovoltaic, it's cutting down on the energy, but how we fabricated this is a big issue. We talked about, let's say, nuclear energy that is, okay, they said it's a very little CO2 coming out of this very one. But imagine we have a country like France that has 80% of energy coming from nuclear, 40% coming from Niger, which is one of the poorest countries on earth. So how do we talk about it as sustainable, or there is so much to talk about when we are talking about fabricating things as well, or what we're using it for. I'm giving you an example here, what exactly our impact on earth. And so much ayahs in the Quran, how a human being, when Malaika heard about our creation, they knew that we're going to make so much bloodsheds and destruction in this earth. So our impact on this earth is already known to the Malaika, that this is something we're going to do. So we're trying to avoid it as much as we can. But you've seen this sort of footprint. They call it now carbon footprint. I think it's more than carbon. There are social issues. We created a problem socially. We have economical issues. We've seen it. Communism didn't work. Capitalism having a big problem. Environmentally, we have all the environmental and CO2 emission and climate change. So we have an issue with how much impact we're creating on Earth. There was an approach to sustainability, which is it's a problem. I will leave it to another session, but is how we think about it and how we quantify things, how we analyze it, and how we synergize things as well, which is something else. There are so many problems that we are facing to create something sustainable. First, the complexity of things. I mean, today we have in a very complex world at this very stage. It's easy to say what's happening today. We have a recession, and to sort out the problem is not because it's difficult to sort it out. The complexity of the issues around it, that's creating it. We created a web of complex things without seeing through properly. This is one side of it. And if you look at social issues, environmental issues, economical issues, there are so many things around it. And I will start with, if I will say just environmental issues, people think about just climate change. If I start to list the number of issues that's coming out of environmental things, the number is so much, and every single issue is being dealt with separately. So things are not dealt with in what we call it a holistic way. We're becoming a very specialized. We look at just details. We don't look at the bigger picture as it is. These are environmental issues, and I can list one after the other that can come. We have, listen, this is a seriously list that's been put in by the World Bank as much as they can. So if we sit down to create teams to sort these ones out one by one, there's no way we can sort it out. That's environmental issues. If you go about social issues, we thought, okay, we talk about individual, diversity, equality, opportunity, skill, recognition standards. These are first we thought about, but there are much more than that. You look at much more in these numbers. And the reason why I'm stating environmental, social, and economical, because sustainability is the synergy of these ones. Once the three major group of issues, they are living in harmony, this is how you create a sustainable society. Again, I'm listing more and more. I mean, who thought about age will become a social issue? We are thinking about, this is, I'm just listing this one out. We're having a problem that people are getting older. It's a problem. I mean, how can we, this is really becoming something that we never thought about, that people to become old, it's a social problem. Again, I will list more and more. There is one thing which is which is my son Hussein will always, he knows about it, is about interaction. The new generation, they do not interact all the time. They are just sitting down on the either internet or or the phone or anything like that. So the way of interacting, these are interesting pictures, how four of them, probably friends, they don't talk to each other, and they're interacting with each other like this, or with someone else. I have a cousin of mine that he lives in Africa, and my daughter and his daughter, they got to know each other just by internet. They didn't meet before, and we thought they are the best buddies. After 2 years, we met with the kids. My daughter and his daughter, they didn't speak to each other. They couldn't speak because they are not used to speak, but through MSN or something like that. So it's a problem. It's a social issue. And I'm talking about these subjects because the center itself should address all these in its way, how it's going to be designed, and the little things that's been done by the architect, or even later on in how the center is going to be managed. Even the little thing we're talking about, ground source heat pumps and the waste management inside, they have a funny sort of glue within the community, and hopefully in the second session we can talk about it in a different way. Again, economic issue, and the list is longer and longer and longer. I heard once lovely say about one alim said, he said the economy is the science of donkeys, because it's so complicated, it should be easier than the way we are creating it, which is funny. So we have problems, which is complexity. The second one is, because we, as I said, we become so much detailed, and we are a society that all what we know is to collect data and digest the data and trying to sort it out from there. With the number that you've seen, this is not an easy task. Actually, it's impossible task to tackle. And so many data are scattered. People are not coordinating with each other. So I was saying here, from simplicity to complexity, yet psychologically we are not ready. As a human being, we are not ready to deal with this detailed and such complexity. I'll give you an example. I'll put it here, I thought it's going to be a bit late in the night. We used to go for hunting thousands of years ago. Now we are buying online straight away. We used to give maybe roses and chocolates once or twice a year. Now, internet dating by the minute. So this is how things are changing, and that's true. And the center has to really tackle these very ones. This is me. I couldn't find a picture of myself when I was younger, so so that's me when I was young. Sorry. This is me, and how much when I'm traveling, interacting, what I'm doing around the world. You know, I'm traveling by cars, I'm eating. This picture, as you see here, is the picture really how much a human being eats for a number of months, 12 months. This is, I'm traveling, so much CO2 emissions, so much fabrication around it. So my impact as a human being, this is how roughly, in terms of carbon, I'm just delivering to the world. This is based on how we are living today. This is, I said, when I was conceived, and before I was conceived, I came from, genetically, from a group of people from a race. So we start to know about ourselves a bit further. Now we know our present, we talked about a bit our future, where it might be, and now we start to know more and more by studying our DNA where we were before. And I'm saying this is becoming even more and more complicated in the way we are trying to tackle things. So the second one is the issue of security and the legality of sustainability issues. And again, if you look at this very picture, this is the picture of the connection out of Facebook. This is not clear here, but the number of connections, that's a clearer. The number of connections in the world is huge. And we've seen it, what happened in Tunisia. We've seen it, what happened in Egypt. That connection that creates that momentum to create that huge change. So we need to be aware of it. Our generation, there is a big difference between us and our young generation. They think differently. We have to think in a different way. And the center has to really think about these issues. That's why the young generation, they need to really be part of this center in every single detail of it, because we don't see the same way they see it. There is something called energy web in the world, and that's again to talk about the center later on. While we will be designing the center the way we are designing, everything is going to be part of something called the smart grid. We are going to sell electricity and buy electricity to the extent a single house will become an electricity trader. I'm selling and I'm buying. This is how it's going to be. And it's done because it's, especially in Europe, there is a problem in the energy demand. We do not want to say that definitely we're going to have a blackout at some point in one of our cities. The minute that will happen, you will see how quick and how soon what we call it the smart grid start to be developed. And that's why shifting to some of the elements that we said in the center here is because we are shifting to more of electricity rather than the gas as quick as possible as we can, because that is going to change pretty soon. And a lot of discussion about why North Africa is creating those changes, because big chunk of the energy required will come from North Africa. There is an area of 200 by 200 kilometers just in Libya is enough to basically to give light for the whole of Europe, just from the solar energy. That is study done 2003, is being certified and moving on by the German 2006. And what we are seeing we're doing a project in Morocco at the moment, and they want to be 42% of the country energy coming from renewables, wind and solar, because they are part of what we call it desert tech, and a part of what we call it as well the smart grid around the world. And that is going to happen. You will see it's speeding up exponentially in about 5 years' time. I will move quickly. So I'm saying we cannot think, and I always say to you guys, if you want to count 1 plus 1, 1 to 2, and you say 1.1, 1.11, 1.1111, you will never be 2. So there's supposed to be a quantum leap in the thinking. We need a quantum leap. Moving from, quantum leap vital to our survival. This is the salmon, how they have to jump somewhere. We have to change, especially the community as ours. They have to change in a different way. A big, basically, but when you say it's a quantum leap, but there is a but here. We have to be careful how we have to jump, otherwise we'll be eaten by, or we'll crash. So what is next? There is a set of things that I said, 7 points, which is hopefully we will try to adopt later on in the design, or we will adopt in the design the way we're thinking about. It's like a hidden key indicators in anything we're thinking about. And we need to know that we are not on our own in this world. Everyone is connected. And we think that we are the center of the universe, in terms of every single person thinks that he is only him, but actually it's we are all connected. So this is how the center has to think. And I'm going to skip this very one. There is something called, before I start this, if you look at the brain and the emotional intelligence, there is a shift from industrial now to more sustainable approach to things, and that is creating an awakening for the emotional intelligence to play a bigger part in sustainability. And the Muslim community, they are more prepared emotionally for this stage, and that is a very, very important. And I say it is simply its responsibility. We see وَعَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى أَهْلِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ فَأَبَيْنَ أَنْ يَحْمِلْنَهَا فَحَمَلَ الْإِنسَانُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. It's basically it's amana that we have. We are not using it properly. We are ignorant to take it. But this is about responsibility, and that's what sustainability is. And we were putting proposals later on, and which is part of the consultation, how we have to think about essential, non-essentials in life. These are a few things that you can see. Sorry, I'm just going to how people start to be sustainable on the little things they are trying to plant inside their houses. They are trying to even putting beehives. This is this is here in the city. Beehives. They are creating water just by playing. There are little things where we call it simplicity now becoming. This is how things are going to be in the long term. I will skip these ones. It's good for the young generation to understand they need to innovate as quick as possible. They shouldn't be afraid of anything. Things are moving very quick. This is one of the latest projects that we're getting involved. And funny enough, we thought that no one would look at things like that. Now they are looking at it. And how the community will be part of not only generating electricity, being part of electric transport, being part of even electricity selling between neighborhood and things like that. Again, I'm nearly finished. Hope so. There are little things when it comes to innovation, by the way. Look at this little thing that we've seen. Basically, this is a small socket that a company created. It's nothing. This is a metal. This is a plastic that shines, and it's telling anyone who's leaving the office in the night, be careful, not leave anything on. This is how it leaks. This is how electricity leaks, which is very brilliant. I mean, I thought this is a little thing, but they really make sense. And I think little things like that in the young generation can make a big difference. This very office that adopted this, they cut down the energy consumption dramatically. So it wasn't about putting LED, it wasn't about putting anything efficient, how people they behave. This is, I think there's something here good to say. Anything one man can imagine, other men can make real. And that's an important one. And I will end up to say something here. Things were simpler before. Sorry, ladies. You want something, you go and get it. No law, no regulation, no wedding, no jewelries, but you may have some wildflowers and a hammer, and you can take your wife. So I think that's basically it. All right. I want to go out safe. I'm not going to say much. I didn't realize there are more in number, so. Okay. No, I didn't show you, Mom. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks a lot for your talk and your time today. A question, I guess, specifically to Miqdad. You were saying that you've got a lot of plans in the future, and this is how you're going to actualize all these different things, and you might sublet it to a lot of different companies to do all these other activities. I was just wondering if you've perhaps spoken to any of these agencies or companies. I know it's a bit early, but maybe early is good, to get a feel for what they think about how they might take over running of certain areas. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the question. We've had quite a lot of experts give us their expertise on various areas. So let's just give a few examples. For the kitchen, we went to talk to a specialist kitchen expert who runs his own restaurant.
So he knows how the kitchen should run, how many people need to be there, what kind of space is required, what a restaurant should look like. And we've also had someone very early on, I think a year ago or 2 years ago, who came and said, the restaurant's something that we want straight away. They already had an idea and they wanted to have it. And that was a year or so ago. With the children's play area, we've already had an interest from a local nursery to run it during the week. And we've gone and talked to experts about how we can actually design this, because they designed it throughout the country in different places and different designs in different groups. So we haven't approached them in terms of actual costings yet, but at the same time, in the next month or so, we are approaching people and trying to find out what the kind of revenue generation possibilities are for each of the different areas. So a detailed, fully fledged business plan will be in place by about a month's time, a couple of months' time, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. This is a question for Rabi. I've been sort of trying to get the council and people to listen about microgeneration, but nobody's getting on board with that. So how do you see yourself convincing the government? Because at the moment it's too expensive for individuals to go into it, and if the councils get involved, then I think the prices would come down a lot. Do you have any ideas as regards to that?
Yeah. Microgeneration is different types. You can talk about the solar in that sense.
Yeah.
You can talk about the wind, which in the urban area doesn't work really much. You have to be, and you can talk about the typical CHP, which runs on biofuel and all this. It's going to happen because they need it to happen. There are two problems. Technically, there is not yet the capability of synchronizing, because imagine every person will have that large amount of input into the grid suddenly, and the grid is not yet ready for it. This is one. The second issue is micro generation, as I said, is different elements into it, and each of these renewable energy, they have their different frequencies. So it's not as easy. So not yet. I'm part of the Institute of Energy, and not yet the synchronization reach a level where it's ready yet. But we shouldn't forget the government. They are making a lot of money out of taxation from the fuel and from the oil sort of economy at the moment. So it's again part of that. I'm waiting for the first blackout to happen.
Yeah, but
And I'm being very serious about it.
Why not do something beforehand? And
we think that way.
Why not do something that would encourage microgeneration rather than build nuclear power plants?
Yeah, but when you say microgeneration,
let's talk about the PV panels.
Yes.
Very specific.
PV panel, it's only feasible in the UK if they kept certain, what we call it, feed-in tariff rate. Anything less than that, economically, it doesn't work. So here we have to change the perception of it. Rather than saying just it's an issue of money, it's a necessity. This is one. But solar is not great for the UK. I cut down a lot of slides. If you know, the UK is very good for a big chunk of it for wind, offshore wind, and the biofuel and the biomass, which is a big important element. The solar is not as great as they're trying to make it for this part of the world, in all honesty. But because they are feed-in tariff, then that's making it feasible.
Yeah, but are the wind farms producing as much as they were hoping to? I've heard things that they're not doing as well.
Okay, I'm not going to go technical, but the wind energy is more than enough in the UK if you take the number as it is in total. But there is intimacy here. The wind in one place is doing well, in another place is not doing very well, and the timing is not great. When it comes to wind and solar, the storage is the biggest problem. We haven't reached a stage when we are storing properly. The batteries are not the greatest to store. Till they come out with a larger scale of storage, like gas or hydrogen storage, then it will work very well. And when they start to move into storing into, let's say, storing water, storing into ice, store into activities that they require energy, that will work very well. It's a bit complicated. I'm not saying that this is easy to tackle. That's why it's one of the most important elements is we need to cut down on our demand first. Then the renewables will work. Otherwise, it's too big.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
To Ravi, yeah.
Yeah.
Regarding this building, I don't know if you or somebody else knows what is the kind of energy efficiency and sustainability that you've done, which is quite unusual, and just wanted to know a bit more about that.
Yeah. Remember, the design starts a long time ago, and we moved from 2006 regulation, 2010 regulation. What we were achieving 2-3 years ago as a target, it's becoming a bit less a percentage, but that is tie up with again investment. The best part we've done for the building is, which is I'm very glad to have a client like this. They kept the ground source heat pump, which is using the ground as much as we can, and there is efficiency, quite high efficiency comes from the ground. So the energy that is required to cool and heat the building is really very, very minimum when you compare it to if it's conventional. So that a big chunk of it. In terms of numbers, if that's what you're looking for, the numbers, the building is even today is considered highly sustainable. But we took a different approach to it. We didn't do a checklist as just a checklist. We're trying to push it to make it a bit more, what I would say, connecting certain elements together to come out with nothing less than 40% on what a normal building of today similar to it will be using. So it will be definitely looked at as landmark from sustainability. Not many buildings of that size, of that performance or of that sort of use that will be as green as is this, by the way.
Just to understand, our property is now more energy efficient in terms of efficiency, materials and all that?
Than before?
Yeah.
Yes, of course, because you have a much better insulation. You talk about this building, the insulation is very, very strong. We are using the ground to offset a lot of temperature. The way things were set for temperature, let's say, we are not saying we want 21 degrees in one place. We're using between 20 or 18 till 25 degrees, depends. So those measures that we put in, they cut down the energy demand dramatically.
We'll take one more question if there is one. No more questions? Okay, I think we'll
Well,
end
I
there.
must mention about the money. Well, brothers and sisters, if you really feel part of this, and I hope that all of us here feel part of this project and feel responsible and feel that you own this project. So if any one of us go to bed at night without thinking about this project and how you're going to raise the money, then you're not part of this project. Yeah, I mean, this is a massive project. We have to raise £12 million. It is not possible for the trustees or to the project team themselves to do all the work that needs to be done. So the money, inshallah, will come, but the money needs to be asked for. So the money can be asked for in a variety of manners, isn't it? As Mustafa Walji quite often tells me, I'm sure there is one person sitting somewhere on this earth who can write one check of 12 million and khalas. But find me that person and I'll go. So if you think there are such people around the world, it is important that you communicate with them, with us, or via us, and we have to approach such people. Each one of us here, in whatever capacity we can, whether through standing orders or pledges, if we don't get involved, then person from Toronto can say, well, what have you guys yourself done to raise the money? What percentage have you done, rather than me contributing from Toronto, where I have my own needs as well. So brothers and sisters, spread the word round. This money will come, inshallah it will come, not only from the Khoja community, but the largest Shia community. There are 200 million Shias in this world. And I'm sure we can raise this meager 12 million pounds, inshallah.